I do keep coming back to the Metroidvanias, don't I? Well, here's another one for the pile. Islets. This is a 2D Metroidvania. It's not a roguelike. It is, you just expand the map, you upgrade your character, you get traversal abilities, you expand the map. Sort of the twist on this is you connect the map because it's like these various floating islands that you're trying to reconnect to each other. And here's what I like about this one. A lot of Metroidvanias, and I think probably, well, let me say what it is, then I'll explain why. I almost gave you the explanation first before I said what I was explaining. A lot of Metroidvanias lean into more atmospheric horror end of thing. How far they go into that varies, but that's usually an element. Like even something that's kind of silly, like say Lost Ruins, where it's all schoolgirls, it's still doing the dark, dank, supernatural infested castle thing, regardless of the rest of it. I wonder how much of that has to do with the two games that kind of spawned the genre that, make up the title, Metroid and Castlevania. Metroid being very influenced by things like Alien, the original Alien movie, and that sense of isolation and like you don't know what's around the next corner. It's often been very dark and moody. And Castlevania, while it can be very silly at times, is just awash with horror imagery. That's what the franchise is. So I think a lot of games in this genre have a tendency to lean in that direction to some degree or another, which makes Islets kind of a little bit of a pleasant relief. Like as somebody who likes this genre a lot, but it was just kind of nice going through with this much brighter sort of Studio Ghibli esque visuals and soundtrack. It all feels very soft and rounded. Like there's still danger, there's still enemies, there's still threats to deal with and all that, but the whole thing feels much more like just an adventure rather than anything that's actively threatening you. Like when you run into a boss, it's like, oh, that shouldn't be there because this whole thing has just been a fun adventure, and the visuals and the audio presentation really lend themselves to that as well. I kind of like the way it does the upgrades also. So they're sort of scattered across the maps, various upgrade items. Um, and when you touch one, it gives you three options for an upgrade. And I think they're actually randomized. Um, it might be your sword does more damage, or it might be you can hold more arrows, or it might be that when you shoot arrows, you shoot them faster than you did before. And you pick one out of those three that you want the most, and that's the one you get. And on occasion, it does mean you get because usually one of the options is like, or you can just have some cash, which you'll just use to buy other upgrades. And you can grind for cash if you need to. But I did have at least one occasion where all three options were cash, and I was like, oh, well, actually, that started happening late game, admittedly. So I might have topped out on how much I was allowed to upgrade the other stuff by that point. So that might not actually be an issue. But I like the notion overall that like it's random, but you still have some control. Your options are random, but since there's three, there's probably going to be one that you're like, that one. Yeah, that one. There's also some bullet hell sections in it because, as I said, these are floating islands. So at some points, you're in this little sort of airship. I say airship, it's a crate with wings. But you're in this little thing and you're just dodging. You're in bullet hell boss fights. Like you're just having to dodge everything thrown at you, and it's a lot. And bullet hell shooters are not really something that I'm partial to or I play a lot of. This was just kind of the right dose of it for me. Like people who are actual veterans of bullet hell will probably find it laughably easy compared to what they're used to. But for someone who doesn't really dabble in the genre, it was a nice sort of way to shake things up, and it was intense enough that for me, it felt like an accomplishment to beat those bosses at all, and on some occasions, maybe not even get hit, and I felt nicely accomplished. So, as someone who's not normally a aficionado of that genre, the balance felt good, for something that isn't standard for the kind of game this is otherwise. Controls are solid. The jump's a little floaty, but I got used to that readily enough. And there is some fun characterization as well. The character you play is kind of a blank cipher, but you've got your own little personal antagonist in the form of Snoot, who's basically going around claiming credit for everything. There's Greybird, who just really wants to do a good job, but he's kind of scared of what's out there. There's Tour Frog, who is this frog that's just luring people to their death. And it's so obvious what he's doing. And again, there's just a lightness and a sense of fun to it. The whole thing just kind of feels cuddly. And I don't remember playing a cuddly Metroidvania before. I'm sure there are some out there. I don't remember coming across one, though. I don't want to oversell it. There's not really anything that I could say that doesn't work or that's wrong about it. But I also don't want a lack of criticism to make you think, and this is the best thing ever. It's perfect. It's flawless. I mean, it doesn't really have any glaring flaws, but the things that it does well, not excellently. I would say that if you're anyone like me who likes Metroidvanias quite a bit, but could use something that is in that genre, but maybe feels a little bit more laid back, maybe a little bit shorter to play through, this is great. This feels like the Metroidvania equivalent of going on vacation, and I mean that as an absolute compliment. Like, yeah, we're gonna do some things and we're gonna hang out by the pool and we're just gonna chill. It'll be nice. And that's kind of how I felt with this. I was challenged enough that it didn't feel like a cakewalk, but most bosses I could take out on maybe the third try. A couple I got on the first. But it's not there for a heavy challenge, but it's not trying to be. Everything about the atmosphere says, just come here and explore. Just have a nice time. And I did. I had a nice time with this. Islets. Have you played it? What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. Those all help me out. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can come on back next time you need a break. Time for me to thank my highest supporting patrons. Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfula, Goddess Elida, Oliver B, to rock the thing that goes doink in the anime, Ruth, Goes with the Gazarian, Solitary Pictures, Ulrich Bogdan, Geek Filter, Melinda Walters, Toku BL Hubian, Jen, Auntie 808, Becky Sparks, Renabi Likes the Poodle, Robin Powell, T Love, Tracy Scrappett, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Pal Barabajagal, I'm sorry for whatever butchery I did to that, and Mira G. I know I've kind of done like funky stuff saying them the last few times. I had this whole idea where I was gonna like sing them to the tune of Carol of the Bells, but then I realized it's gonna like clash with my outro music, and I didn't really want to rework that or just cut the outro music out altogether. That felt weird, so I just didn't do a thing this time. But now I've told you that I didn't do a thing, so I've made a thing about there being no thing. Okay. Thanks for sticking around. Bye.